This Liberty Sports Update is brought to you by Beacon Credit Union.
Oh, it was a magical weekend, one of those that you will put in your memory bank for forever. And I've had numerous friends and family and others, ask me, how does this rate compared to, all the wins you would consider to be, you're the underdog and you probably don't have the best roster and all of that stuff. How would this one, rank? And I would arguably say it's probably number one, and we've won some games that we probably weren't supposed to, but probably not to this differential when you're playing a team that I consider to be one of the top 25 teams in the country over the last few decades. And you look at the recruiting rankings and all of that things that build up your rosters. And I've said you don't have to beat them 10 times, you just have to beat them once. And so it was a magical, Saturday for all of our Liberty family, our players, and just thrilled. Couldn't be, and I didn't think we played our best after watching the film. I know we didn't, and I hadn't slept much. You're so jacked up after a game like that. You don't sleep on Saturday. And then Sunday night, I start immediately, my head starts spinning about, all right, I got to get them back down grounded. We better prepare the same way. And so I'm thinking about this week ahead all last night. So it's, but I'll take it. I assure you, that was so much fun and crazy ending, a lot of different twists and turns and strategies, and I love that part of the game. I love evaluating, what my decisions were and what I should do different and learn from and do next time. Will I do it differently? So, man, just, magical. Give, Coach Fuente and them do a great job. They have a great scheme. Offensively, they're very difficult to defend. And, it was a huge win for us. And I told somebody I'm afraid that our people will expect us to win every ACC game we ever play now, and that's not realistic, I don't think. But we'll keep taking them as they come. But we got to get back and prepare for. You talk about 2020 being strange. We're playing our 8th football game and facing an opponent that hadn't had a game. Now that's strange and uncomfortable, and not quite sure what to prepare for.
Very good, Coach. Thank you. If you have a question for Coach Freeze, use the raise hand option at the should be at the top of your screen. We'll start with Damian Sordelet from the Lynchburg News and Events.
Morning, Hugh. How are you?
Good, man. How are you?
Doing well. You mentioned Saturday that this week would probably be your toughest challenge of, like you alluded to just a few minutes ago, getting those kids off that amazing high and getting them back down to reality. What was the team meeting like, whether it was yesterday or this morning, about putting everything in the trash, as difficult as that may be, and now turning your attention to Western Carolina?
Yeah, team meeting was this morning, and shared with them the truth of Saturday. We celebrated that truth of victory. Also showed them the rankings. Said take a picture of it, save it in your computer or wherever you save it, and one day you need to blow it up and put it in your office and in your home. And man, I tell you, memories are hard to come by. That we remember all the difficult things for sure, but I like making some. I got several pictures I'm gonna blow up from Saturday, and I want to tell my grandkids about it, and these players are gonna want to say, man, let me tell you about this day we went to Blacksburg and won this crazy game. And you need to tell the people you love about those stories and those memories. So keep it. But then we wadded it up and threw it in the trash and said this one has the same value as last week's in the win-loss column. There's no difference, and it doesn't count any more or any less, and we must prepare. I do think that one strength that our staff has is consistency in our approach. And they won't see any difference in my approach, and our staff will follow that. And then hopefully the leadership of the team that I meet with in our leadership council, they'll echo that when we're not around, and it'll show in our preparation. So we've already begun that. We introduced our new theme this week, and I taught the lesson on that this morning, and planned those back in the summer, and it's we've been blessed that they're right on point for each week that we have.
Next up, let's go to Emily Austin from Flame Central, then we'll get to Hank from the AP.
Coach, are you able to share what that theme is for this week?
Rim huggers.
And I'm very interested to know if you knew that Virginia Tech called a timeout at the end of that game. Malik mentioned that he did. Did you know?
Yeah, it was. I was watching, and then he was standing right beside the official, and I knew that was coming. And then the whistle was blowing, and I didn't know at the time because I was kind of watching over there. But when I watched the film, the whistle's blowing as Alex is taking his first step, and it really throws him off. And two of our linemen just stood up, and so it had a direct effect on everything that was going on at that moment. So. Yeah, I did hear it and knew it was blown.
And what was your communication with Alex after the game?
Oh, we just hugged and told him I was really proud of him, and just swing it that freely every time from this point on. If I knew he was going to swing it that freely, we would have ended that thing a lot earlier and kicked it from the 5-yard line. So I think next time when I evaluate my strategy, now I'm going to have confidence that he's going to put it through. So I'm probably going to play that last minute 50 differently.
Let's go to Hank Kurtz from Associated Press, then we'll get to David.
Hey, Hugh. Malik, after the game, as you kind of indicated earlier in the week, was not boastful, was not vengeful, was not anything about me against Virginia Tech or proving myself or anything. How important is that for one of your leaders to be kind of that tunnel vision focus, to kind of have that for the rest of your team?
I couldn't be more pleased in that quality that he has. It's rare, but he truly is a humble kid, and really, I mean, he had nothing. Virginia Tech offered him a scholarship. He was thankful for that opportunity. He just chose not to go there to play the position they wanted him to play. And so there was no – and he gives respect to everybody. He's his hardest critic. I talked to him this morning. He said, man, I didn't really play that good. And I said, we don't win that game without you, and we need to learn some things from it. Both are true, but you're our guy, and we certainly don't win that game without him. But you would never know that he's having probably the great year that he's having by listening to him, talk. And I love that quality about him, and I hope he never changes.
How important is it for all of you that he fumbles twice, they cash in, I think both times? You keep calling his number, and he kind of is able to put that in the past and just kind of move forward. How important is that in a quarterback, since the ball's in his hands all the time and he's integral to everything you do?
It's huge. It's kind of a staple of our program is that we have a philosophy of don't blink and you play the next play, and that includes even when you're getting criticized for not playing well, or even if I beat myself up sometimes, like, gosh, that was an awful series. I didn't eat any clock up. It was an awful calls. I got greedy, but then I snap back and play the next play. And I'm the same way with him. Man, take care of the dead gum ball. Now let's get ready to go again. And he knows that about me, and I'm glad that he can put it behind him too, because again, you don't win that game without him.
And how integral was it for you that you saw that the block kick happened because some of your guys stopped in calling another kick? Because those long kicks are risky because they have to be lower. How integral was it for you that you realized exactly what happened and went into that?
Well, honestly, I won't deceive you. I didn't know that they stopped until I watched the film. I knew the whistle had blown, but I didn't know that two of our linemen just stood up and didn't block anybody. So I didn't really know that. The only thing, man, you have these instincts sometimes as a coach, and it was kind of chaotic, and luckily the timeout gave me time to talk to our kids, and I just had this instinct that, man, I think I can steal the first down here and still have time to kick it a little closer. And, that's what we decided to do, and it worked out.
Let's go to, thanks, Hank. Let's go to David DeGuzman from WFXR Roanoke, and then we'll get to John.
Hey, Coach, two quick questions. First, with Saturday's ending, I mean, the emotions were just so vastly different, obviously, on the two sidelines. Taking yourself out of the game and the result, just as a coach and I guess as like a human being, do you kind of empathize with how Virginia Tech and Justin Fuente felt?
Yes, I've been on the other side of this coin too, where something happens and and it just it's gut wrenching, and we I never want to be defined by the scoreboard, and neither does any coach that I know. But reality is we're judged by that, by not everyone, but some administrations, I guess, judge it on that, and they have to, and we all get that when we sign up for this, but there's so much more to it in building a program and managing kids and making sure they're better when they leave your program, and Justin does that. And so those Saturdays like that, when it doesn't go your way, man, it's gut-wrenching, and it's I've had them, and then we'll have some more. And it's just so you hate that for their kids and for their coaching staff, but at the same time, in that moment you don't hate it, but when you reflect on it, and he was very gracious in the post game, and I think he's one of the good ones in the profession.
As you move forward, how do you kind of guide your team as it becomes a team that is hunting and now becomes kind of the hunted? Now it has the target on its back.
Yeah, don't change, man. Don't change anything. Let's remember why you're having the success we are, and we've fortunately been blessed not to be altered too much by COVID. It has affected us, but it hasn't really altered us to the point where we felt like we couldn't compete. And hopefully that continues. Obviously injuries, we've had some at receiver, but some other places we've remained fairly healthy, and that's been important to us. And then our approach, we can't control those first two, but we can control our approach to it. And so, man, just do not change our approach at all, and hopefully the leadership of the team understands that.
Thanks, David. Let's go to John Manson now from A Sea of Red.
Coach, you said last week that Virginia Tech was bigger, faster, stronger, and deeper than your team. At what point, whether it was during your preparation leading up to the game or something that transpired Saturday, at what point did you feel confident that you all would be competitive in the fourth quarter?
Halftime. I tell everybody what I really felt going in was we can't stop them, and that I thought we could move the ball, and if we didn't turn it over, score some points. That's really what I thought, and felt like I needed to shorten the game. And I thought after the first quarter, I felt really good. After the first quarter, our defense was on the field 9 plays, so everything was good. Obviously, the ending of the second quarter, I thought when our defense held them to a field goal, I thought that was huge. And I told my daughters actually going into the locker room that we were going to win it. And they just looked at me and said, "Are you serious?" I said, "Yeah, I think we're going to win it." And I just felt pretty good at halftime.
All right, next let's go to Damian Sordelet from the Lynchburg News and Advance.
Coach, we look at Alex's journey since joining this program. He had the groin injury there in the spring that he said cost him 3 months. when did you notice that he had the opportunity to win this job? Was it what he showed in limited in spring, or was it closer to the start of the season?
Well, it's kind of ironic. Stricker got hurt, and with the same injury Alex had back in the spring, and it really wasn't – we didn't have an option. I mean, he was really the only guy we had, and we actually started looking among the student body to find out if we got another guy that can at least, be a backup in case we lose Alex too. So he was really forced into it, but once he was forced into it, he's done a consistent enough job to earn it. And so, I'm thankful for his journey, and I know he's experiencing the high side of it now, and hopefully that will give him great confidence.
You mentioned looking through the student body. How fortunate is this program that a former Power 5 kicker happens to be on campus when Alex Probert elects to transfer to Iowa State, February, right before the signing day?
That's another blessing for sure, and just thankful we have him.
All right, let's go back to Emily.
Coach, just interested to know, and how I know you haven't known these players too long, but you seem fairly confident as far as what you just said. You told your daughters on the way in from halftime. How much do you think that confidence is rubbing off on these players who might not be recruited to play at the ACC level, but you just having that confidence just with yourself and your coaching, how much do you think that rubs off on some of these guys?
Yeah, that's a tough one to answer. I think y'all can probably I don't know. I've never met a coach worth anything that wasn't confident. So I think it ought to rub off on your kids. I think the experiences we've all had mean something to our kids too, so that they may feel like this dude's crazy enough to believe we can win it. Maybe I should believe him also. And last week's theme was incredible on climb the cliff and having 6 seconds of insane courage. I wish I'd have named it 5 seconds now. But that was what was on the clock when we kicked it. But I was close. It was 6 seconds, and they just never quit flinching. Let's play as hard as we can, and then see what the scoreboard says. And fortunately, it worked out for us that day. But confidence is a big part of our program, and hopefully we can continue to play with confidence.
Let's go back to David, then we'll get to John again.
Coach, I'm wondering, as you're starting to get these wins over ACC programs like Syracuse and Virginia Tech, are you already seeing the effects on the recruiting side, where you're seeing the interest peak, the people who you're talking to, they're really starting to get more definite about going to Liberty?
There's no question it helps. So on Sundays, I always Zoom with our recruits. And in my Zoom call yesterday with them, it was everybody was bright smiles and feeling good. And truthfully, we've kind of slowed down a little bit because, we've got a good set of commitments. But you start thinking about, us winning and starting to compete at the level that we want to compete with. There's going to be the recruiting stuff is changing, with the unknown of the one-time transfer and the transfer portal and all of those things, that we're kind of in kind of a holding pattern right now a little bit, just kind of because we do think the Liberty brand is getting better and better nationally. So it's definitely helping.
John, go ahead, and then we'll go to Damien.
Coach, what is Carl Poole's status, and who would you turn to if he's unable to go, and if you needed a backup for Anthony Butler, who would that be?
Yeah, Anthony had to play too many snaps Saturday for sure, and I think Carl, I believe, was back at workouts today, so hopefully we won't have to worry about that. I think he'll be back this week ready to go.
All right, let's go Damien, then we'll go Ed Lane after that.
What's the preparation now been like for Western Carolina? You alluded to in your opening, haven't played a game this year. What do you know about them, and what have you guys done to kind of prepare for them? Have you looked at what they did against Alabama? conference games? How have you guys prepared for such an uncertain opponent?
Well, it's just beginning. I mean, we started it last night, but it is unknown. I mean, they got a brand new defensive coordinator, Andy McCollum, who's a good friend of mine, and but it's been a long time since he's coordinated. He's a head coach at Middle, and then a linebacker coach at was a coordinator at Baylor, then head coach at Middle, and then the linebackers coach at Georgia Tech under several different coordinators. So I'm really not sure what he's going to do defensively. He wasn't there last year, so it's very difficult. We've got two sets of thoughts going on in our preparation offensively. Defensively, we have a little more to go on. We think they'll be similar. At least you can, it's the same coordinator, or the head coach may call it. I'm not sure, but so they have a little better idea. But it's still uncomfortable to know you're playing a team that has not played a game yet, and they've had 8 weeks or however many weeks they've practiced to get ready for this game. So it's a little uncomfortable.
Does it help that your team has had that sort of week of uncertainty with FIU and North Alabama this year, that this isn't like a completely unknown, that they know there's going to be more film study, more walkthroughs needed in order to feel comfortable going into this one?
Yeah, I think all of our experiences always help us, the good or the bad. I don't think there'll be any more film study because, again, it's just, you're kind of shooting in the dark at some things. Defense will probably study more than we will offensively. We'll be more concerned with, all right, if they play us 3 down, what do we want to do? If they play us 4 down, what do we want to do? If they play mint, what do we want to do? If they play man, if they play 1 high, if they play 2 high, let's just make sure we have a plan for all of those things, and then we'll have to adjust once we get to the field Saturday.
Let's go to Ed Lane from the Fast Lane, CBS Sports Radio in Lynchburg.
Coach, you'd mentioned obviously, the uncertainty of what Western Carolina brings, and you add into that turning the page emotionally and focus from the high of beating Virginia Tech. Does there go into your preparations this week an even greater emphasis on the crispness of what you guys do, both offensively and defensively, both because of the uncertainty and because you want to make sure you guard against that proverbial letdown?
Yeah, this is this to me, this whole week is about us. Let's it's obviously you prepare and you do different things based on your opponent, but let's make it more about us and making sure that we're prepared for Saturday and whatever that brings in their schemes or adjustments that we have to make. And I'm not a coach that believes that your kids are going to be emotionally the same from every Saturday. I think that's an unrealistic expectation, and when you have unrealistic expectations, you typically have frustration, and so that's not one that I expect to have every Saturday. I expected them to be emotionally ready last Saturday. Will they be this Saturday at the same emotional peak? Probably not. But I've never seen that win or lose games. I have seen their preparation and execution win and lose games, so that's what our whole focus will be about with us.
All right, last one from Damian Sordelet from the Lynchburg News in Advance.
Coach, Malik was asked Saturday if he's listened to all the hype surrounding him, comparing him to, say, like a Cam Newton or something like that, and he said he hasn't. But from your perspective, who do you compare him to that you've seen? And there is talk of Heisman hope around him or being in consideration. How do you guys balance that? And do you want to get him out there and promote him as a Heisman candidate if the season keeps going the way it is?
Yeah, I'm not a big promoter for stuff like that. I don't really understand how that works. I'm a realist. I know that's a very difficult task from a non-Power 5 program. I don't know even how many have done that. And that's just reality. Is he deserving of the accolades he's getting? Yes. Does he read them and change him. I sure hope not. And I asked him 3 times last week when he made mistakes in practice, are you reading your press clippings? So he got a kick out of that. And I don't think we have to worry about him not staying humble and continuing to work. As far as the Heisman talk stuff, I really don't understand how all that worked, but I think that's a long shot, even though I think he's deserving of everything that comes his way for sure.